Hello and welcome to our second plant care demo here at B.Willow. We'll be going over repotting different desert plants, cacti, and succulents. In the shop here, we use organic mechanics. Wait for it. In their cacti and desert blend, they add in rice hulls, biochar, and shale to help with additional drainage properties to the soil. When repotting desert plants, terracotta are the best option. They're very porous, breathable, lightweight, and it gives the cacti and succulents chance to dry out prior to their next watering. Ceramic pots aren't the best option when it comes to repotting desert plants just because they tend to be glazed and therefore hold a little bit more moisture and aren't ideal for them to thrive in. You'll want to make sure that your terracotta pot has a drainage hole as well, just to make sure that your plant is able to rid any extra moisture. A common question that we get here is, do you need to put gravel at the bottom of your pot that you're potting into? And the answer ultimately is no. What gravel will do if you are planning to add it to your terracotta pot is simply decrease the size of the pot or dictate kind of where the plant will sit in the pot, but it doesn't help with drainage necessarily if you already have a drainage hole. So you see, after adding this gravel to this pot, it brings it to about the same depth as it would with this azalea pot here. Desert plants tend to have shallower root systems, so when repotting, there's no need to go into a pot too deep. Something shallow but still wide and will give it space to grow is ideal. So even fluffy cacti, old man cactus, Mickey Mouse cactus, they have prickles still, even if you can't always see them. So before you're repotting, definitely make sure that you have some protective gear in place. So here I'm going to be using a glove as well as newspaper when I go to repot this. And I also have tweezers to make it a little easier for me to get it out of the pot without pricking my fingers. When repotting cacti, it's good to use leather gloves. And just in case, I have some paper here as well to have in between me and the actual cactus so that I can avoid getting any prickles. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is work on getting this cactus out of the pot. So you see I have it kind of like leaning on the paper. Don't be afraid. You may lose a little prickles, but at least it won't be on your hands. So now that I've kind of worked it out of there, we can loosen up the soil around the roots a bit, but remember they can be very thin and not have too developed of a system. So you don't want to overstress it. So I'm just gonna hold it like this for now. And I'm going to add some of our desert mix to the bottom of this pot. I'd say about 2 inches or so of soil there. And then I'm going to get this guy in its new home. You'll see me using the tweezers to help kind of center the cactus while we're repotting. I'm gonna keep that still with my left hand. And you can see this pot isn't too deep. It'll give it some space to grow into. And I'm just making sure to cover that root system. I'm gonna use my fingers, be careful of the prickles here, just to push it in. I'm gonna release my tweezers. Add a little soil on top. Push that down as well. And there we are. Sometimes after repotting a cacti, especially if it has like the fine hairs on it, you may notice that you'll get some soil on the sides of it. So feel free to go in with like a paintbrush or whatever and just slowly clean it off. All right, that is a little better. And then another thing that you can do after repotting is adding gravel on top. So because cacti tend to grow very shallow root systems and takes a while for them to root into their new space, adding gravel will just help them settle further in and keep them stable. It's also very nice decoratively, makes them look like they're even more so in the desert. All right, next I'm gonna go into showing you all how to pot a little succulent garden. When repotting succulents, you wanna make sure that you're potting ones with similar thickness of their leaves. So you'll see here, they're all about the same and will dry out at a similar rate. As opposed to this guy here, which has thinner leaves and it's just going to dry out faster than these would naturally. So we try to pot like things together. All right guys, so I'm going to repot these little guys in here. Today, you see I'm kind of staging them to see how they'll look in their position. I wouldn't really try and add another plant to this situation, especially a larger succulent, because you'll see they won't have space to grow in and mature. All right, I'm gonna work them out the pot. So you can hold the base of the stem of the succulent and slowly pull it out of that pot. I'm gonna loosen up the root system a bit here. That's good. And if you're ever removing them from the pot, repotting, and you lose a few leaves, no need to be concerned. Succulent leaves propagate very easily, so you can always add them right back to the soil. So now that I have them all loosened up there, I'm gonna add some of my soil at the bottom of this pot. I'd say similar to the cactus, about 2 inches or so. And I will start with my first one. I like to sometimes add them in and add soil over time to make sure that I'm getting all of the roots of each individual plant. You can use your fingers, the scoop, whatever works. But you really just want to make sure to cover the root system of the succulent. Luckily, I haven't lost any leaves here, but if I did, it wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm gonna go ahead and pack that soil in even more. Just make sure that they're all covered. Okay. I like to pat the pot to make sure there are any air bubbles. We can get rid of those. All right, now that we've got them all potted up here together, you can go ahead and decorate. So I'll be decorating with gravel and then some like red rock we have here too. And it's nice to add them around any open kind of like soil space you see. And again, like the cacti will help them kind of settle into their new space as well, a bit. And then we absolutely cannot forget our little dinosaur. There it goes. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out if you ever had questions to our plantcare@bwillow.com email. You can send us pictures, videos, and look out for our plant care demo next week, which will be going over repotting tropical floor plants. Have a good one.